Welcome to a new test and teardown video. This time it's a Philips RC generator 2316. And the fun thing is I already in my collection got the 2315 and 17. So this 16 here more or less completes this collection. That's pretty cool. The difference between this one and the 15, I think it's more or less only the ranges, and probably also something related to its age. We got a variable output and we got the stepped output, and they're connected to those two outputs. So this is a little bit funny, because the variable you got here is the one that feeds the step attenuator that's here, right? So that is a little bit funny. And we got only three ranges: 30 Hertz to 300, and 300 to 3K, and then 3K to 30K. And a thin needle, so it looks like you can adjust this really accurate. There is a little bit confusion online about the different schematics, so I will double check this and update the schematics and show you the difference later in this video. So we got everything completely in order. It says here the serial number that starts with a D in 843, and it is selectable. See, this is a little bit funny. 245, and at the moment it's set for 220. So I'll check out the voltage selection. This is a good point of failure, by the way. I can feel this wire is feeling really weird here. Yeah, this I need to handle. The first little look inside before cleaning. Oi, oi, oi. There is a fantastic smell to all this dirt. That's a socket for this bulb. That is fascinating. Yeah, let's go and get some compressed air. Oh, after a little bit of compressed air and a soft paintbrush, it is nice and clean. The fun thing about those tar-coated capacitors, they will eventually splat out like that. So don't tighten those holders. I mean, just make them so loose they barely hold the capacitors. Otherwise, they're gonna end splat out or like this. This one down here was definitely tightened way too much. And oh, look at that one. Splatty splat. Funny. But this is probably just a visual thing. There's a big distance into the real good stuff in there, so I'm not super afraid of this. That one did not leak so much. Yeah, there's a nice label here on the top that shows, look at that, the list of tubes. And I'm inspecting the quality of the sockets for nasty things, but this one is okay. This is the rectifier for the high voltage, the EZ2 double diode. But look at that here. This is something I really want to find and to fix. This corrosion here needs to be cleaned away, and then you get a good stable high voltage will be EL41. And of course you can see all those signal tubes. Well, this is medium power. That would be a rim lock tube, where this little pin here is the coating that match this little spring lock right there. EF41 from Telefunken, and this one is a little bit special. See, they varnished the tube to preserve the text. That is real nice. And funny enough, the other EF41 is from what? Triotron, and it's of course not coated, so you can't touch the text here, it's gonna go away. And then the last little special thing is a bulb, a 220 volt 15 watt bulb. And it's not because they are making a lot of light in here or anything like that. This is probably not even visible, the glow, but this is for signal level compensation. So this is in the oscillator circuit because of its negative resistance. And in here we got a capacitor, I think. We should maybe open this one and have a little look. So that was definitely the capacitor for tuning of the frequency. And here we got a double isolated shaft for the tuning. And it's to handle the different angle or misalignment. So this is why you have this flexible shaft. And we got some trimmers to compensate for the end stops. And it looks like it's connected just to the different capacitors. A little bit weird. And it looks like they put some glue to lock this one into position, and the glue here just melted. And there's another funny thing in here. Look down there, a power resistor to heat it up a little bit. I think this is to remove moisture. Isn't that fascinating? Here at the bottom, we see a carousel switch. I am a little bit unsure if maybe, we see those threads right there, maybe there was supposed to be some sort of a closed shield around this carousel switch. But all the mechanical details is really, really good around this switch. There's a really, really good feel. Click, click, like that. And you'll see those little contacts here on each side. This little detail right there that moves up and down, and it slides here on the top right there. You can see this black part here. This is where it's supposed to touch, see? And they are silvered, and this is why they turn black. So I want to remove this, but just carefully touch this with something else. My little glass brush, and then I can clean them real good. See here? This is the contact point that's supposed to be nice and clean. This is not nice and clean, but just touch it barely with something, and then you can see, so fine here. And this will give you a good stable contact. Only touch the outer surface to remove the oxidation, and no scratching or removing of the silver, obviously, right? See, now it's nice and shiny. It is that simple. I don't find any leaked capacitors or any brown, burned, melted resistors, so I believe it's quite alright. I definitely want to power this up in a second. I did find the mains cable here. Look how damaged it is. Somebody's been poking around with this too much right here. So I will have to change this. That is fairly easy. I'm a little bit afraid of those are very fragile. So I hope this is going to be okay. So I think from this angle, we can maybe see both the scope and the glow in the tubes. Let's turn off some light here. Turn it on. Then I will try and crank up the input voltage real nice and slow. And here at 70 volts, it's using 3 watts. So we don't have any shorts or any nasty things. This is 100 volt. I also changed the voltmeter volt range switch to 240. And this is 150. I don't see any glow in any of the tubes. Yes, ooh, that was the power on lamp at 170. Let's continue. It's only using 10 watts, so this is about 200 volts. I should expect, yes, look at that. We can see some glow here. And that is 230 volts. And within a minute or two, we should probably see some, yeah, I see a little bit of glow in the high voltage rectifier. This is a good sign, but I don't have any high voltage probably. At least we don't have any output. Here you go. This one. Why don't we get any output? Well, well. This is the attenuator, this is the... No. Ah, it was the carousel switch. Look at that. So the high output works. Weird. Look at that. But the medium, there's nothing. And then the low is working. Okay, so that is interesting. We definitely have a carousel switch issue. So from this angle we can see what I'm doing here. See, nothing, and there you have it. Okay, I need to work with cleaning that switch. So after a lot of cleaning and exercise of the switch, I still don't have anything in the middle range. So I now know the carousel switch is perfectly fine. See, there's absolutely nothing. That is a little bit weird. And it's nice and stable. What you see there, see? And then whoa, and then it goes stable again. That is this bulb regulator. I just need a little bit of time to restabilize, and then you should have exactly the same amplitude. See? A little bit of time, and then quite fascinating. It's very, very simple, but it really works. So this changes a lot of amplitude with frequency, and then here is the schematic of the Philips GM2316 RC generator. I remastered this schematic. It was in a terrible condition, but now we can follow all the connections and tracks and see what is going on. I'm sorry, but the schematic is not showing the rectifier tube and the capacitors for the high voltage and the filament and the mains transformer, but all those things is like really not super important to understand how this works. So maybe they have this on another sheet that is not shared on the internet. So I'm sorry, this is all we have. But if we look at the upper left corner, we see R1 and R2. That will be the two resistors in the carousel switch. So the C1 and C2 capacitors, that will be the variable capacitor you turn around when you want to set the frequency. So I don't know the values to expect, but I have the low range that is working and the high range that is working. So if I can only find the right points of those resistors, I will be able to measure the two ranges that is working. Maybe I can predict the values those resistors needs to be in the middle range. So here is what I figured out. The top and the bottom resistors. So here is R1, that will be the bottom resistor, and this is R2, the top resistor, right? And the fun thing is they are the same value. So they're supposed to be 100K, 1 mega, and 10 mega. So of course, the lower frequency, the higher resistor value, right? And here is a new one that I put in because this one was not as expected. It was 5 mega ohm and not 1 mega ohm. And here's how they made it. So it was supposed to be those two in parallel, but this one is open. So they put in a 5 mega ohm parallel with this one to make it a little bit less than 1 mega ohm, and then they put a little bit in series to fine adjust the total value of 1 mega ohm. So yeah, all this stuff is out, and then I just put in a new 1 mega ohm resistor here, and then it's hopefully going to work. All this resistor stuff you see here, that is just to make accurate values, to put more in series and in parallel and all that kind of stuff. So this is why it looks so funny here. So look at what we have so far. I think I put this at exactly 100. So this is the low, and of course we are very close to 100 Hertz, and this is why it's interfering a little bit with mains frequency. So in the middle we should have about 1 kilohertz, and we got 986. So I think it's pretty good. And then the highest should be 10K, and it's 9.4, so that's also pretty good. So I'm happy. It is now restored back to 1960s, where it did work in all the ranges. Ha ha. So thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.